I'm glad we're doing this because, you know, we have
a whole series on crazy stories.
Yeah, that we haven't even documented. I mean, you know, one of the one that resonates with me that, you know, as well, you probably comes to mind is, you know, there was a lady that owned a piece of property that turned into a squatter house.
Squatter house, like there is garbage and debris, like canopying the structure, the mobile home. There's a full-blown like RV. There's like so much debris stacked, like probably 10 feet
super
high
hazardous.
in the whole 6,000 square foot lot, all the way out into the street.
Man,
like unbelievable. We gotta have to show you.
You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between like junkyard or, you know, this property.
Like you can't fix anything else out there. There's like cars sawed in half, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, and you know, that's all drug, you know, induced and involved with, you know, this property. And you know, we've heard rumors there's like one of the biggest drug lords in town living in this property, along with like 10 to 12 others, you know, that have kind of just took over this property for quite some time. And the seller was just done, fed up. And, you know, she started the eviction process, went to court, did everything right, got the person evicted, and she thought when it was all over, she went to, you know, proceed with our, you know, process of us purchasing from her. She found out that the other people on the property don't legally have to leave. So she was able to remove like 1 out of the 14, and she just completely lost it, and was devastated that, what do you mean I just evicted her? Now the other, you know, 12 to 13 can stay legally. And we found out that, you know, if you have your name on the mail that's being delivered to the home, you know, you will have to go through the eviction process with those people. And she ended up having a heart attack at the courthouse. And mind you, I built this relationship with her, speaking to her for well over a year. So, you know, we knew each other on a personal level. She ended up collapsing, had a heart attack, and died. And it was devastating, right? So I'm like, what now? Like, this was already hard enough. Now, now I have to figure out who's next of kin, who's going to take this property and now buy from them, and what does that process look like, right?
Right.
So, you know, she passed, and you can only imagine, like, you know, who's getting the property and how long that takes to do the probate, which, you know, who's going to be the next owner and getting those people off. And then even if we acquire this property, who's going to, like, are you going to go there and remove these 15 like squatters? Like, we're not in the business to act tough or put ourselves in dangerous situations when you have kids. So it's like, what do we do? You know, like, we're way in over our head. But constantly taking action step by step, you know, it pays off because, again, you don't have to figure out, or you're never going to figure it out or know the end result. It's just step by step. And then, you know, we ended up finding a buyer that actually not only bought that one, but bought another one on Ryan Street, another lot. And I think we got a pretty good deal on that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point was at that point we were on a mission just to help that seller get some sort of justice.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, once she found out that the additional occupants had squatters' rights by, you know, having mail sent to the property, she lost it, and then we stepped in. I mean, for all the time and effort and energy that we put into it, there was, you know, we made a few bucks, but nothing. But at that point, we didn't really care.
Yeah,
like,
the win.
How do we get a win for, you know, this family to get these people out there and not just let this continue?
Yep.
So, you know, fast forward on that property, you know, it's all cleaned up, out of there, rehab, nice. And so, you know, we are doing our part to clean up a lot of like
100%.
drug labs and other type of things in neighborhoods. So, you know, people that do see these type of properties in your neighborhood, make sure you reach out to us, because we can figure out who owns that place and figure out how to get those guys out of there.
Yeah,
you know, take over that property and, you know, get someone in there that wants to rehab it and make your neighborhood nice. So,
I mean, it's an investment, right? For them, like, to bring value to your neighborhood, to have your kids be able to walk down the street and play in the street, you know, is huge. So cleaning up these properties and bringing value to neighborhoods is just, you know, our mission and our goal, because, you know, not only are we helping the seller, but, you know, long term we're helping everybody, you know, in the neighborhoods.
We'll do whatever it takes to. I mean, how many, you've been talking to several inmates in jails and prisons, and How many, video conference calls have you had with inmates recently?
The last person I talked to this long was probably like my first girlfriend in ninth grade. I in this business, when Ryan, mentioned earlier, it's like really whatever it takes. It really is whatever it takes, to a point where as long as you're safe and things make sense, right? The seller, and we buy a lot in Mojave County, the seller in Bullhead, I won't go into too much specific details, but ended up in prison, and he, it wasn't over for me. It's like, okay, he goes to prison now. How do I get this done in prison? I don't even know anything about that. But again, utilizing your resources. People that have done it before. We work with a great title company. You want to make the introduction? Who do we use for title?
Title Services of Valley.
Yep. Lori and Tracy, great, amazing people. They have been my biggest mentors on top of Ryan. They just, have seen it all. So they led me down a path. And it's like, this is how you communicate with prisoners. This is what they normally do. They have notaries in-house. I was like, wow, like I never even knew this. I've probably been on maybe about 30 video calls with this prisoner from any time of the day. My kids are watching, in the background looking like, what are you doing? Like my wife's like, who are you talking? Everyone's just completely like, what's going on? But, it's whatever it takes. I'm not gonna let too many blocks in a road stop us from, solving problems and achieving, people's goals. Because one of his biggest goals, right, was not losing this property to the city. It was condemned, and he was gonna lose it himself. So, if I could help him get money, get him bailed out, and get this family that likes it onto the property and give them a place to live, I mean, that's just huge. A lot of moving parts, but, it's not something impossible to do.